You're watching the Stories That Scare channel. There is no turning back now.
3 true after-bar food truck horror stories. Hey everybody, I'm glad y'all stopped by. If you've ever stayed out until the bars closed, then you know exactly where everyone ends up afterward. The food trucks, bright lights, the smell of grilled onions, music echoing from bars a block away, people laughing, arguing, trying to sober up before heading home. It's one of the few places where complete strangers gather in the middle of the night. Most people are just hungry. But sometimes, someone pulls up who probably shouldn't be there. I started searching online for stories from food truck employees who claimed they experienced something they still can't explain during those late-night shifts. Whether these stories are true, or just another part of late-night folklore, I'll let y'all decide. All right, let's get into the first one. This first story was shared by a man who owned a taco truck parked outside a row of bars in San Antonio, Texas. Here's what he had to say. For almost 5 years, I worked the same shift, 8 p.m., until around 4 every morning. The first few hours were slow, but once the bars closed around 2, business exploded. People poured into the parking lot, some laughing, some arguing, some too drunk to remember what they ordered 5 minutes earlier. I got used to all of it. One guy insisted every taco needed 12 packets of hot sauce. Another woman ordered nachos every Friday, then forgot to pick them up. Nothing surprised me anymore. Except the old cowboy. The first time I noticed him, it was exactly 2:41 a.m. I remember because I had just looked at the clock while cleaning the grill. He stood alone near the edge of the parking lot. Tall, thin, wearing faded blue jeans, dust-covered cowboy boots, a tan western jacket, and a black cowboy hat pulled so low I couldn't see his eyes. He slowly walked to my window. 3 carne asada tacos. His voice sounded dry, like he hadn't spoken to anyone in years. No onions. No cilantro. Just meat. I made his order. He handed me a 20. His fingers were freezing cold. Not cool, cold, like he just pulled them out of ice water. He never said thank you, never smiled. He simply turned and walked into the darkness beyond the parking lot. The next night, 2:41, he came back, same clothes, same order, same $20 bill, night after night, week after week, month after month. He never missed a single shift. One Friday, business was unusually slow. So after serving him, I watched to see where he went. Instead of crossing the street toward downtown, he walked behind an abandoned warehouse. Curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed my flashlight, locked the truck, and followed him. When I rounded the corner, he was gone. There was nowhere he could have disappeared. A chain-link fence surrounded the entire backlot. No gate, no cars, no dumpsters big enough to hide behind. Nothing. I stood there, confused. Then I noticed something lying in the dirt, a faded $20 bill. I picked it up. It felt damp, almost brittle. Printed across the top, in tiny red letters, were the words, specimen, not legal tender, just a display bill. I stared at it for a moment, then looked back toward my truck. The old cowboy was standing at my serving window, waiting, even though I had just watched him disappear, and my truck was nearly 100 yards away. I froze. There was no way. I'd just watched him vanish behind the warehouse. Yet somehow, he was back at my truck, standing perfectly still, waiting. I hurried across the parking lot, half expecting him to be gone by the time I got there. He wasn't. He hadn't moved an inch. His head remained lowered beneath that black cowboy hat. "You forget something?" I asked. He slowly lifted one finger and pointed toward the tacos sitting on the counter. I'd been in such a hurry to follow him, I never handed him his food. "Oh, my bad." I slid the tray toward him. He picked it up, turned around, and disappeared into the crowd of people leaving the bars. This time, I didn't follow him. I didn't want to. The next night, he returned. 2:41 a.m. exactly, same order, same 20, same cold hands. After a few weeks, my cook finally asked, "Who's the cowboy?" "What cowboy?" "The one that comes every night. You've never noticed him." He frowned. "No. I thought you were talking to yourself." I laughed. "You've got to be kidding." "I'm serious." I've never seen anybody standing there." That sent a chill through me. So the following Friday, I decided to check the security cameras. Our truck had two. One pointed toward the serving window. The other faced the parking lot. At 2:41, the cowboy walked up, or at least, that's what I remembered seeing. On the recording, the window slid open by itself. 3 tacos floated across the counter, as if someone invisible had picked them up. Then, a $20 bill slowly drifted onto the stainless steel counter. Nobody was standing there. Nobody. My stomach turned. I replayed it. Again and again. Every single night looked the same. The tacos vanished. The money appeared, but the cameras never recorded a customer. The next evening, I showed the footage to another food truck owner parked beside me. He watched the entire thing, then quietly asked, "Why do you always make 3 extra tacos?" I pointed toward the parking lot. "For him." He looked where I was pointing. There was nothing there. Then he said something that made the hair on my arms stand up. "I've been parked next to you for almost 2 years. Every night at the exact same time. You stop talking to customers, turn toward an empty parking space, and hand tacos to thin air." I didn't know what to say. I looked at the clock. 2:40 a.m. 1 minute. I slowly looked toward the edge of the parking lot. There he was, walking toward my truck. The crowd flowed around him, as if they couldn't even see he existed. And for the first time, as he stepped beneath the serving light, his hat tilted back just enough for me to finally see his face. There wasn't one, just darkness, as black as the inside of an empty room. Maybe some late-night customers never really leave. All right, let's move on to story number 2. This next story was shared by a woman who worked the overnight shift at a burger food truck parked outside one of the busiest nightclub districts in Nashville. She said she'd seen fights, police chases, marriage proposals, even a man try to pay for a cheeseburger with casino chips. She thought she'd seen everything. Until order number 66. Here's what she had to say. Our truck had a small touchscreen register. Every order printed automatically. Receipt, order number, customer name if they used a card. Pretty standard. Around 1:30 a.m., the line stretched halfway down the block. By 3, things finally slowed down. Just me, my cousin on the grill, and one customer waiting for his fries. That's when the printer suddenly came to life. Beep. A receipt slid out. Order 66th. No customer name, no payment, no total, just one item, 1 double cheeseburger. My cousin looked at me. "You enter that?" I shook my head. "No." He shrugged. "Probably a glitch." He tossed the receipt into the trash. About 30 seconds later, someone knocked on the side of the truck. Not the serving window, the metal wall. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I slid open the window. Nobody. The sidewalk was empty. The last customer had already left. The parking lot beyond the streetlights looked deserted. I closed the window. The printer beeped again. "Order 66, 1 double cheeseburger." Again. This time, my cousin laughed. "Just make it." So the printer shuts up. I rolled my eyes, wrapped a cheeseburger, set it on the counter. We waited. Nobody came. After about 5 minutes, I turned around to throw it away. When I looked back, the burger was gone. Neither of us said anything. We searched the truck, checked underneath the counter, even looked outside. Nothing. The wrapper had vanished too. The next Saturday, it happened again. 3:18 a.m. Order 66, 1 double cheeseburger, 3 knocks, empty sidewalk. Burger gone. Then again the following weekend. Same time, same order, same 3 knocks. Eventually, it became part of our routine. Every Saturday, at exactly 3:18, we made 1 extra cheeseburger. Nobody questioned it anymore. Then one rainy night, a city police officer stopped by for coffee. While we waited, the printer beeped. Order 66th. The officer laughed. "Busy tonight?" I told him what had been happening. He smiled, until the 3 knocks echoed across the truck. Knock, knock, knock. He immediately stepped outside, flashlight drawn. He searched behind the truck, between parked cars, even across the empty intersection. When he climbed back inside, he looked confused. I didn't see anybody. I pointed toward the counter. The cheeseburger was gone. His smile disappeared. He quietly asked, "Where'd it go?" Neither of us had an answer. You know, most food trucks have regular customers, but some may not be paying with money anymore. We've got one last story, and this one is the reason I'd never stay open after last call. This last story was shared by a man who owned a barbecue food truck that parked in an old industrial district after the bars closed. There wasn't much around. An abandoned warehouse, a vacant factory, a cracked parking lot with a handful of flickering streetlights. It wasn't the kind of place you'd expect many customers. But every Friday night, at exactly the same time, they came. Here's what he had to say. I normally parked closer to downtown, but one weekend there was a festival. Every good spot was already taken. The only place left was an empty lot beside an abandoned textile factory. Business was slow. A few rideshare drivers, some construction workers getting off the night shift. Nothing unusual. Around 3:30 a.m., the streets became completely empty. I started cleaning the grill. That's when I noticed them. 6 people, standing together at the far end of the parking lot. I hadn't seen them walk in. They were simply there, 3 men, 3 women, all dressed differently. One man wore a brown suit that looked like it came from the 1950s. Another wore faded denim overalls. One woman had a floral dress I'd only ever seen in old photographs. None of them spoke. They slowly walked toward my truck. One by one, they placed their orders: brisket sandwiches, pulled pork, sweet tea. Every voice sounded calm, almost rehearsed. When they paid, I noticed something strange. Every bill looked different. One $20 bill was old enough to have a much smaller portrait. Another looked almost brand new. One customer handed me a $10 bill with a date from decades before I was born. I figured they were collectors. I handed everyone their food. They thanked me politely, then walked back toward the darkness beyond the factory. I looked down for maybe 5 seconds, just long enough to wipe the counter. When I looked back up, the parking lot was empty, completely empty. There was nowhere they could have gone. The nearest intersection was nearly half a mile away. No cars, no footsteps, nothing. The following Friday, they came back. 3:33 a.m. exactly, same 6 people, same clothes, same orders. This continued every Friday. For almost 3 months, I never told anyone. Who would believe me? Then one night my younger brother worked the truck with me. At 3:32, I told him, "Watch the parking lot." He looked confused. Why? You'll see. A minute later, the 6 figures appeared. Just like always, I smiled. See? My brother frowned. See what? The customers. What customers? He was staring directly at them, but his eyes never followed their movement. I pointed. They're walking right toward us. He slowly shook his head. You're talking to an empty parking lot. A chill ran through my body. One by one, I served each of the 6 customers. My brother stood beside me the entire time, watching me wrap sandwiches, pour drinks, take money, and hand everything to absolutely nothing. When the last order was finished, the 6 figures turned and disappeared into the darkness. My brother grabbed my arm. Who were you talking to? I emptied the cash drawer onto the counter. Mixed in with the night's earnings were 6 old bills, each from a different decade. One was so worn, it practically crumbled in my hands. The next morning, curiosity finally got the better of me. I visited the town library. I asked if anyone knew anything about the old textile factory. The librarian disappeared into the archives. A few minutes later, she returned with a newspaper dated October 1968. The headline read, "Late night factory explosion claims 6 lives." The article included a photograph. 3 men, 3 women, standing shoulder to shoulder, smiling for the camera. I felt my stomach tighten. They were wearing the exact same clothes, the same faces, the same 6 people. I'd been serving barbecue every Friday night. I sold the truck a month later. Not because business was bad, it was actually my busiest location. But every Friday, at exactly 3:33 a.m., I still wake up for no reason. And sometimes I swear I can smell smoked brisket. Then I hear 6 calm voices, waiting patiently to place their order. Maybe the last customers of the night, aren't always the last customers. If you enjoyed these stories, let me know which one got under your skin the most. And if you've ever worked at a food truck, restaurant, or late-night job and experienced something you still can't explain, I'd love to read about it in the comments. Who knows? Your story might appear in a future episode. Until next time, keep the fires burning. And as always, I'll tell the stories if you'll stay scared.